All right, moving away from US news here a little bit, trying to get a little bit more of a global perspective on this channel, I think is important. Interesting article from the Gray Zone here written by Ben Norton. Leaked documents reveal right wing oligarch plot to overthrow Mexico's AMLO, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, the current president of Mexico. Mexico's oligarchs and establishment political parties have united in a secret alliance to try to remove left wing President Lopez Obrador from power with the help of the media, Washington, and Wall Street. No surprise there with Washington and Wall Street, for sure. Leaked documents lay out their devious strategy by Ben Norton, again of the Gray Zone. Some of the most powerful forces in Mexico are uniting in a campaign to try to topple the country's first left-wing president in decades, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, and they apparently have support in Washington and Wall Street. Known popularly as AMLO, the Mexican leader is a progressive nationalist who campaigned on the promise to end the dark night of neoliberalism. That's amazing. He has since implemented a revolutionary vision he calls the Fourth Transformation, vowing to fight poverty, corruption, and drug violence. I believe he wanted to decriminalize or legalize all drugs as well, which probably wouldn't have made him any friends within the cartel folks, and has increasingly butted heads with his nation's wealthy elites. Lopez Obrador has also posed a challenge to the U.S. foreign policy consensus. His government provided refuge to Bolivia's elected socialist President Evo Morales, I love that, and to members of Evo's political party who were exiled after a Trump administration-backed military coup, and it's just really sick and disgusting what happened in Bolivia with the support and backing of the Trump administration of the U.S. government. So disgusting. AMLO also held a historic meeting with Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel and even stated Mexico would be willing to break the unilateral U.S. blockade of Venezuela and sell the besieged Chavista government gasoline. These policies have earned AMLO the wrath of oligarchs both inside and outside of his country. On June 18th, the U.S. government ratcheted up its pressure on Mexico, targeting companies and individuals with sanctions for allegedly providing water to Venezuela. Really? As part of an oil for food humanitarian agreement. The value of the Mexican peso immediately dropped by 2% following the Trump administration's imposition of sanctions. And again, sanctions are a form of economic warfare. The sanctions on places like Venezuela, Syria, Iran, probably North Korea as well, Cuba potentially, or is it just an embargo? Doesn't matter. These sanctions are economic warfare designed to cause so much pain, death, and suffering to the population that they would somehow, want to force out these, leftist, socialist-leaning governments that the, U.S., oligarchy, military-industrial complex, want to get rid of, so they can open up their countries to these huge multinational corporations to enrich themselves, and it's really, really disgusting. But again, not surprising. The United States is the biggest purveyor of terrorism in the world and has been, frankly, for quite some time. These opening salvos of Washington's economic war on its southern neighbor came just days after Lopez Obrador delivered a bombshell press conference in which he revealed that the political parties that dominated Mexican politics for the decades before him have secretly unified in a plot to try to oust the president years before his Democratic mandate ends in 2024. Wow. The forces trying to move AMLO from power include major media networks, massive corporations, sitting governors and mayors, former presidents, and influential business leaders. According to a leaked document, they call themselves the Broad Opposition Bloc, Bloque Opositor Ampilo, or BOA. You can tell I'm definitely not fluent in Spanish. I would like to be. Hopefully, can work on that. And they have lobbyists in Washington, financial investors on Wall Street, and major news publications and journalists from both domestic and foreign media outlets on their team. This is pretty nuts, though. Broad opposition bloc BOA plot to demonize AMLO with media propaganda. In a press conference on June 9th, the Mexican government published a leaked strategy document purportedly drafted by the board opposition bloc titled "Let's Rescue Mexico. Rescatimos a Mexico." The AMLO administration said it did not know the origin of the leak. These pages consist of an executive summary of Project BOA, outlining what it calls a plan of action, a blueprint of concrete steps the opposition alliance will take to unseat AMLO. There's the cover of it. One of the key points in the plan is the following. Lobbying by the BOA in Washington, White House, and Capitol Hill to stress the damage that the government of the fourth transformation is doing to North American investors. The lobbying strategy depends heavily on turning the U.S. against AMLO. More than comparing it with Venezuela, the document reads BOA should highlight the very mass migration of Mexicans towards the United States if the crisis of unemployment and insecurity gets worse. Then the BOA adds, repeat this narrative in the U.S. and European media. The leaked pages say that the BOA has the international press, USA and Europe on its side, along with foreign correspondents in Mexico. The document even names specific media outlets, with individual journalists and social media influencers who could help spread their anti-AMLO propaganda. On the list are some of the top news publications in Mexico: Nexus, Proceso, Reforma, El Universal, Milenio, El Financiero, and El Economista. Again, if I'm butchering any of these Spanish words, I do apologize for that. The plan of action makes it clear that the powerful opposition alliances seek to use their extensive control over the media to obsessively blame AMLO for unemployment, poverty, insecurity, and corruption in Mexico. BOA even states unambiguously in its plan that it will use groups of social media networks, influencers, and analysts to insist on the destruction of the economy, of the democratic institutions, and political authoritarianism of the government of the 4T, using the acronym for the fourth transformation process. This makes it especially ironic the BOA document reluctantly acknowledges that López Obrador government has managed to mitigate the economic impact of the health crisis by giving large amounts of public money to the affected through social programs, actually something that the U.S. hasn't done. So it's like Ben pointed out at the beginning, it's these oligarchs, these wealthy interests who also have their supporters in Washington and in Wall Street, who don't like the direction that AMLO has taken the country, to helping the working people, to lifting up the working class. The oligarchs in and outside of Mexico don't like that. That's why this pushback is happening. That's same thing why the U.S. is targeting Venezuela. Same reason why they supported that military coup, ousted Evo Morales in Bolivia. I mean, it's the same playbook over and over again. The leaked pages likewise admit that AMLO has an approval rating of more than 50%, lower than his peak at 86% in the beginning of 2019 or 72% at the end of the year. But still impressive for a region where U.S.-backed leaders like Chile's Sebastián Piñera or Colombia's Iván Duque have routinely enjoyed approval ratings of 6 and 24% respectively. I'm not super familiar with Chile's Sebastián Piñera. I do know that Iván Duque, Colombia's leader, is quite authoritarian and right-wing, so he's obviously in favor with the U.S. government. Mexico establishment, political parties, and former presidents unite to oust AMLO. Check this out. I'm getting towards the end. With the backing from the US government and utter dominance of media narratives, the broad opposition bloc plans to unite all of Mexico's establishment political parties. Together, these parties could potentially run candidates under the BOA umbrella, according to the document. Their goal would be in the 2021 legislative elections to end the majority that AMLO's left-wing party, Morena, won in Mexico's Chamber of Deputies. After that, BOA states clearly that it plans to block reforms in the Mexican legislature and ultimately impeach Lopez Obrador by 2022, at least 2 years before his term ends. Quite revealing is that the Let's Rescue Mexico document does not mention anything about average, again, what I was pointing out, about average working class Mexicans and their participation in the political process. It's not about that. It's about the wealthy vested interests who want to increase their wealth and power even more. Fuck everybody else. Fuck the working people in Mexico. As long as I can, get more millions and billions of dollars, that's all that matters. It's disgusting. Nor does it acknowledge the existence of labor unions or grassroots activist organizations, which make up the base of AMLO's movement and his Morena party. This is not surprising, considering the BOA Alliance lists some of its most powerful figures in the Mexican ruling class. Again, exactly. All the major political parties are included: the right-wing National Action Party, Partido Acción Nacional, or PAN, the center-right Institutional Revolutionary Party, Partido Revolucionario Institucional, or PRI, Centrist Citizens Movement, Movimiento Ciudadano, or MC, and even AMLO's former party of the Democratic Revolution, Partido de la Revolución Democrática, or PRD. BOA also includes the new political party Mexico Libre, a vehicle for former right-wing President Felipe Calderón, a major ally of George W. Bush, who declared a catastrophic war on drugs in Mexico, leading to tens of thousands of deaths. Along with Calderón, BOA lists former President Vicente Fox, another right-wing U.S. ally, as a coalition ally. Fox worked closely with the Bush administration during his term as president to isolate the leftist governments in Latin America. He even tried to undemocratically remove AMLO's mayor of Mexico City and ban him from running for president. Some really top-notch folks here associated with BOA, huh? BOA also says that support from the governors of 14 states in Mexico, along with the opposition lawmakers in both the Senate and the Chamber of Deputies, judges from the Electoral Tribunal of the Federal Judiciary, and officials from the National Election Institute. Wall Street investors and Mexican oligarchs back anti-AMLO alliance. Joining the entire Mexican political establishment in the broad opposition bloc is a powerful financial oligarchy, both foreign and domestic. Along with its anti-4T lobbyists in Washington, the leaked document says BOA has Wall Street investment funds behind it. BOA adds that it's supported by corporations like TMEC, using the Spanish acronym for the new United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, free trade deal, popularly known as NAFTA 2.0. Some of the richest capitalists in Mexico are associated with BOA. Named in the leaked document is the Mexican corporate behemoth FEMSA and oligarchs from its associated Monterrey Group, which the New York Times once described as a tightly knit family of wealthy conservative businessmen. The BOA pages also point to Mexico's powerful business coordinating council, Consejo Coordinador Empresarial, and Employees Confederation of the Mexican Republic, Corpomex, as allies. Opposition denies involvement in BOA while turning up heat on AMLO. In the days after Lopez Obrador's press conference exposing the broad opposition bloc, some of the prominent figures implicated in alliance, such as of course they're going to die, Felipe Calderón, denied involvement. Some of these political and economic elites have even claimed BOA does not exist, seeking to cast doubt on the president's scandalous revelation and accusing him of fabricating the scandal. Then where did the documents come from? But their efforts are clearly part of a larger campaign by Mexican opposition groups to remove President Andrés Manuel López Obrador from power. As AMLO's fourth transformation moves forward, their destabilization tactics have gone have grown increasingly extreme. Lopez Obrador himself has warned of the radicalization of the right-wing opposition. As the Gray Zone previously reported, the president made an ominous reference to the threat of a potential coup in November 2019. Referencing Mexico's former president Francisco Madero, a leader of the Mexican Revolution and fellow left-winger who was assassinated in 1913, AMLO tweeted, "How wrong the conservatives and their hawks are. Now is different. Another coup d'etat won't be allowed." Let's hope that's true, AMLO. Let's hope that's true. The next part in this investigation series by the Gray Zone will show how far right-wing forces in Mexico are pushing a coup against AMLO. Very, very interesting. Not surprising, especially not surprising that you see the backing, from Washington and Wall Street, and obviously the oligarch capitalist owner class within Mexico does not like AMLO because he supports the working people. He wants to create a better Mexico for the working class, and the oligarchs obviously see that as a threat to their power and wealth, and it seems like they're trying to do everything that they can to get AMLO out of office, which is just really, disgusting and disturbing. And it's important to call it out and try to stand in solidarity with AMLO and the, working people of Mexico and across the world when, these type of horrible things try to happen to social progress. It's, really, really important. Peace. Much love.